Hello, and welcome to the first week of the Mission Ready Performance Challenge. We are excited to have you guys on this 8-week journey. So today we're going to be starting out walking through what does it look like to set a goal that works for you. I think a lot of times when we set goals, whether successfully or not, we end up either falling off the rails or maybe we hit it, but we just didn't feel very motivated by the process. It was too low or too high of an expectation of ourselves. And so today we're really going to break down what does it look like to set a goal that you can put action steps. So today you're going to walk away with action steps that you can take today um, to start moving in the right direction. So to get the most out of this presentation, um, have a pen and pencil ready, have some paper ready. We've got a nice little worksheet in PDF format tied to the email that you received with the link to this video. It's designed so that you can walk through this and fill that out. Tip number 2, take time to really pause the video, walk through the process as we go. I'll be referencing like, hey, take time to think through this, take time to write down this, select this. So you may pause this, come back, leave it, come back to it. Feel free to do that. It's meant to be a recurring resource for y'all. Circle back and revisit this as you learn more. We're going to go through a lot of stuff about nutrition, about movement, stress management, positive mindset, all sorts of things over the next 8 weeks. So make sure that, as you're needing to adjust and reform goals, as you learn more, this is going to be here for you. And then lastly, our team is here for you. So feel free to bounce ideas off of Jason, Dr. Brown, Carlos, and I, and use our weekly email prompts to engage with our team. Those email prompts are designed to help you really engage with the material and to think about things that, like, oh, hey, maybe I do have a question about that, or helps to pull out things of, oh, maybe I need some extra resources here. So please use those to engage with our team. And we're excited to work through this process with you. And so to get us going, we're going to touch through some foundations of goal setting, and then I'll kind of cue you to pull out that pen and paper or that worksheet to really brainstorm how to create some action steps for your goal and really refine a really good goal. So what makes good goals? If you think about goals that you've made in the past, were you able to stick to them? What did you do well? What did you maybe do poorly? What made it hard to stick to a goal, or what was maybe too easy? So when we think about good goals, a good goal is going to be tied to a why. Answering why is this important to me is going to help encourage commitment to your goal, and it's going to increase that internal motivation piece. So if we are just tied to the outcome of that goal, then sure, we might get there. We might receive some benefit from it, but we're going to get a lot more benefit if we tie that to a value that we hold really dearly as a person. The other thing that tying a goal to a why or to a value is going to be important for is when hurdles come up. Hurdles are going to happen. Life happens, right? How often do we have a normal week? When we have that goal tied to a value or to a why, it helps us make a well-informed adjustment. We can make a decision that's in line with what's important to us instead of making a decision that is, well, I can't hit perfect, so I may as well screw it all, right? We want to make a decision that still continues to move us in the right direction, and we're going to be more likely to do that if we have tied our process to something that's very important to us. A lot of times, I think this gets really cliche. We're like, oh, yeah, tie it to a why. What's important to you? But I think rarely we actually do the work to be self-honest with ourselves and to get to the root of why it's important to us. So let's look at an example of how that might look. So, why does losing 15 pounds matter to me? Well, maybe I just really feel the extra pounds I've put on in the last few years. Right? That doesn't even actually answer the question, but it's an answer that I hear a lot and one that I even make for myself, right? We're just like, oh, well, I've really felt that. And that's supposed to answer why that's important to us. But we need to dig a little deeper. So, why is that important to me that I feel that way? Well, I guess I don't feel like I look or I move as athletically as I used to, and I'd really like to return to that. Okay, why is looking and feeling athletic important to me? Well, I feel more confident when I can do the activities I want. Sports and activities have been an outlet and a bucket filler for me. Okay, so now we're getting somewhere. So, next question I need to ask myself again, why? Why is that important for me? Why is it important for me that I can do those activities and feel confident? Why is it important for me that those have been a positive outlet and a bucket filler for me? Well, I guess I feel more independent. I feel more attractive and responsible when I'm doing those things. Okay, one more step. Why are those characteristics important to me as a person? Well, responsibility and stewardship are high values for me as a person. There we go. Now we're getting to the core. And taking care of my body is part of that. Also, my marriage is important to me, and pursuing health together is a way that we like to connect, which strengthens our marriage. So now we're getting down to what's very important for you as a person. We need to take time to ask ourselves why and why again and why again and why again, right? Ask yourself why 5 times or until you get down to the very root. Be honest with yourself until you get to those core characteristics that define you as a person. So good goals are tied to a why. Good goals are also informed by data. Data helps us to know that we need a change. They help us to identify if we're trying to lose weight, what is a truly healthy weight for us? Or even if we're gaining weight, what's a healthy weight? What's too much? What's too little? And I need to know where I am now. It helps us know what we need to plan to change. Do I have a big gap or do I have a small gap, right? Same type of thing for nutrition. How much protein do I need in a day? I need to do some research. I need some data on that. And how much do I consume now? So maybe that first part of your goal needs to be data collection instead of improvement. We can't improve if we don't know our starting point. Same type of thing for activity. What type of training and what improvement might I need to run a 25-minute 5K? And how does that compare with where I am now? Do I need to focus on distance? Do I need to focus on pace? Both? We need data in order to decide those, to know what exactly we need to change and how to focus our action steps. If we don't know that information already, our first action steps need to be that data collection. And that's because uninformed goals are unhelpful. If we're making a random goal based off of stuff that we don't know, we don't have a direction, a purposeful direction to head. Collecting data about your personal starting point and information about what is realistic for progress helps us to make decisions and actions that are informed and that move us towards our primary goal. And then as we go throughout the process, we need to collect data as we go. This helps us make informed changes. If we're not progressing as quickly as we thought we did, well, we need some data to say, did I do what I said I was going to do? Did I commit to all the workouts I said I was going to commit to? Or do I need to change the focus of my workouts? What's our kind of issue here? Where do we need to make that pivot in order to continue progress through our goal? So, good goals tied to a why, informed by data, and they encourage curiosity. Goals should help us ask questions like, what happens if I dot 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 increase my protein intake, work out for 20 minutes more times a week instead of an hour a couple times a week? Or let's find out what happens when I. Goals are chances to set experiments for ourselves. Once we implement an experiment for ourselves, we're able to ask what happened when I made whichever change. And then when we ask that question, if it didn't work out the way we expected, That's okay. We get to do a new experiment. We get to explore why that first one didn't work. We get to discover another avenue moving forward. If it did work, awesome. Let's explore why it did, and let's continue to push into that and use those principles to move us farther on. Good goals tied to a why, informed by data, encourage curiosity, and they are smart. This is a framework that I'm sure most of you are familiar with. A lot of people use this as their primary goal setting framework. I like it, but there are pros and cons as there are with everything, right? So this is going to be just a lens that we use to filter our goals through, and it's kind of a helpful check mark. So smart, specific, measurable, attainable or achievable, realistic, and timely. And we're going to break those down a little more. So smart goals, specific. We need to identify specifically what you want to do. A lot of times people will come in and say, like, well, I want to eat better, or, well, I want to get in shape. And that may sound good. It sounds positive, right? But it doesn't really give us a firm direction or an actionable item. We need to define, what does get in shape mean to me? Good goals are measurable. Once we have that primary focus, we need to know how we're going to track our progress and when we successfully attained your goal. This doesn't mean that we need to be tracking that 5K time or um, how many grams of protein or fat that we have in our diet. Subjective and objective data can count. Maybe our goal is to improve our mood by changing our behavior. I can track that by asking myself each day, what type of mood am I? And over a period of time, I can say, did I have a greater percentage of a more positive mood? Tracking data helps us set many goals along the way to help set those benchmarks. A good goal is going to be attainable or achievable. Goals are not helpful unless there's something that we can actually achieve. If I want to run an ultra marathon this year, but I've never been a runner, that's admirable, that's positive, but that might be an unrealistic time frame. If I'm wanting to run over 30 miles, but I have never run in my life, that's a big jump, and that's a lot of training miles to allow my body to physiologically adapt to be ready for that. We do this with a lot of different things. We try to pursue like an all natural diet from level zero. Maybe I'm eating out all the time and I'm eating all sorts of junk food, right? It's unrealistic to expect that in a few weeks I'm going to change and have a whole natural diet, because that's a complete lifestyle change. Admirable, but is it attainable realistically? Good goals are realistic. We need to ask ourselves, does my plan fit with my life and my lifestyle? Yes, we're trying to make changes to our lifestyle and to our behavior, but we need to ask, can I realistically make this change? If I have a goal that requires 1 hour of effort each day, but I have a long commute, I've got a family at home that I need to spend time with, maybe I'm involved with another group, committing 1 hour a day to a goal may not be realistic for what I do. I may not have that time to give, and that's okay. We just need to reframe our goal and reframe maybe what that first benchmark is. It doesn't mean we're never going to touch that, but it means that at this time and in this place, that's just not going to be possible, and we need to revisit what that goal looks like. And then good goals are timely. A lot of times I think we push this one almost too hard. We think, I need to be able to reach my marathon goal within 6 months, or I need to be able to do X, Y, or Z within this very strict time frame. Sometimes that's helpful. Having a race date or having a wedding date for like a wedding that you're in and needing to be at a certain weight before that or wanting to be at a certain weight before that can be helpful. It helps us keep focused on our goal. It helps us be motivated towards that if that matters to us, um, so that we don't fall off. It kind of keeps us moving forward. But sometimes I think it also pushes us to be really hard on ourselves, especially if there's not a specific reason for us to hit that. So having regular accountability checks with yourself of where we're using those measurable factors to kind of keep us in line at a regular interval helps us to continue with that forward momentum in the same way that a deadline does. Um, so time is important, but we also need to learn to have grace for ourselves. So whether you have that race date that's holding you accountable or time for check-ins where we're just measuring that progress and making sure that we're moving forward, we want to make sure that we have that time factor in there too, so that we're not just however the wind blows pursuing our goal, right? We want to keep that momentum moving forward. So good goals tied to a why are informed by data. They encourage curiosity. They're smart, so they've got all those details, and they are actionable. So a lot of times we set these really big goals, like I want to run a marathon or I want to lose 50 pounds, right? But a lot of times those feel really big and hard to accomplish. We're very motivated when we start out, but then we get a couple weeks in and we're like, oof, I have a long way to go. How am I ever going to do this? And we start to lose that motivation. So we need to learn to break down large goals into skills, practices, and actions that are going to help us move forwards toward that primary goal. So, what is a primary goal? Our primary goal is that big, what do I want to accomplish? Next thing we're going to break that down into is a skill. What abilities, experiences, capacities are going to help move us towards that primary goal? We're going to break those skills down into practices. We're going to break this down a ton. So don't worry if this is kind of going over your head a little bit. Practices are going to be those repeatable behaviors that are going to help us build a skill. We're going to break those practices down into actions, which are going to be small, specific tasks that you can do consistently to help build up those practices. All right, go ahead and pull out that paper or that worksheet, pen or pencil. We're going to do some brainstorming for your goal. All right, moving into brainstorming. What is it that you want to achieve? Maybe you have something on your mind already, maybe not, and that's okay. Take some time to brainstorm what is a goal that you'd like to pursue, and then take some time to define what does made it look like. What does that goal actually look like for you? If you want to be healthier, what does healthier mean? What does a person who is healthy in your mind look like? What types of things do they do? What's realistic for you to be healthy? Do you have a time frame in mind? Is there a race that you're pursuing or an event that you're in? Is that a reasonable time frame? Is it Have you done research on how many pounds is appropriate to lose per week or how quickly to gain muscle mass? We need to make sure that we're checking these things out. So, moving to an example. Our primary goal. What do I want to accomplish? I'm going to go back to my one from the little conversation bubbles. Maybe I want to lose 15 pounds over the next 4 months because I've got a dress that I need to fit into. So our next step, we've established what we want to achieve. We've established what my time frame is. I did my research. I know that that's reasonable. So my next step is to ask myself, what skills do I need to develop to lean into to achieve my goal? So moving to our example, a skill that I might need is to learn to move regularly. So some example skills, practices, and actions. We'll layer these on as we walk through. So depending on what your goal is, here are some example skills. You might need to work on eating enough nutrients, and then the practices will be eating enough of the correct nutrients. We need to learn to eat well intuitively, to move often, to get deep sleep, to plan, prioritize, and prepare, or to maybe work on more of a growth mindset. These are not an exhaustive list, but there are some examples that as you're going through, you can use to help inspire you. So our next step, we've identified our skill. We're going to move more often. So next step is, what do I need to do to practice to build those skills? In this case, to move more often. Well, my practices are going to be, I'm going to practice giving myself permission to take regular walk breaks and short workouts on work days. I'm also needing to practice to plan, prioritize, and prepare. So some of my example practices, I won't read them all, but I might need to learn to, if I'm eating enough nutrients, I might need to learn to eat enough protein, carbs, or fat, or my veggies. I also might need to learn to stay hydrated. Under the movement front, I gave myself an example of giving myself permission to move, which is kind of in between that move often and the plan, prioritize, prepare / some mindset, right? So you can see these aren't clean cut categories, and that's okay. The goal is that we're layering these things that dig a little bit deeper down to practical takeaways. So our next step, I've got my practices. Our next step is going to be what actions are going to help us build those practices. So in my example, my small specific tasks that I'm going to do consistently to help me build up my practice are, I'm going to create an on a walk back in 15 minutes sticky note from my desk. That's going to help give me permission to myself, and it helps me communicate with others what my plan is. And so it's very tangible. It can be on my desk. I can see it. It reminds me, oh yeah, I need to take my walk break. I'm going to stick it on my door or on my desk for when I go and take that walk break. So it's clear what I've done. For my plan, prioritize, and prepare, I'm going to block time in my calendar for those short workouts that I'm going to do on my work days. So I'm going to put in my 20 to 30-minute block for my workouts, and I'm going to put in my little 15-minute block for my walk breaks. Maybe that's I'm doing my workout over my lunch or at the beginning or end of my day, but I'm going to make sure that I put it in there so that I know that I have that. So some other examples of how these skills, practices, and actions kind of layer together. You can see that those actions in the green are super practical examples. So under those eat enough protein, carbs, fats, and vegetables, like my actions are, I need to identify what my favorite proteins are. I need to make sure that I eat, whether I'm using grams or a hand portion of my protein at every meal, or I can tally it per day. If I'm focusing on movement, supporting my movement routine, I can find, what resources do I have nearby? I'm going to identify what those are. I might need to purchase some helpful either a gym membership or some equipment so that I can make sure that I don't have any excuse not to take out those actions. So we've been kind of laying it out paragraph form, but and if it's not this way on your paper, that's okay. But essentially, this is what we're doing. We've got our primary goal up at the top, then we've got our skills underneath that. We have practices underneath that are going to support the skills. And then under those practices, we have those really tangible actions. So this is kind of what it looks like. If it helps you to organize your notes this way, feel free to. If not, that's okay. I'm a very organized thinker, and so this is a helpful layout for me. And so we've got our brainstorming, we've got our primary goal up at the top, we've got our skills down below, we've maybe got one or two for our goal. It's okay if you only have one. I just made the graph to make it look pretty. Maybe we've got one or two, maybe even three practices under each of those skills, and then under those, I apologize, those practices. And under those practices, we've maybe got 2, 3 actions, maybe just one, that's okay. And we're going to use those here in the next step. So our next step and final step for our brainstorming process is to commit to an action. So we've got all of our brainstorming. We are connected to our primary goal. And you may work top down on this, you may work bottom up, and that's okay. we're going to highlight one of the skills. We're not going to focus on both because then that gives us a ton of action points that we're going to focus on, right? And so primarily we're going to focus on one of our skills. From there, we're going to focus on one of our practices. So maybe that's my move well, or maybe that's my eat enough nutrients, right? And then under that, we're going to select only 1 to 2 of those daily or weekly actions that we're really going to focus on. You may be saying, "Hey, Adrian, that's a little underwhelming. I can handle 2 to 3 things." But what happens a lot of times is we get caught up. We pick 3 or 4 of them and we try to make a big change and then we get overwhelmed. So start with the 1 to 2. A lot of times they bring other things along with them. So once you've highlighted those things, this is where the change really happens. If you're still kind of looking at your graph, really focus in on, from your time brainstorming, on what are you excited to do? When you look at those actions, which one makes you go, "Ooh, yeah, I could do that"? Which ones are most feasible right now? Maybe you're at a place of like, oof, like this all is just not my cup of tea, but this one feels like I could work it in pretty reasonably well right now. Or maybe you want to pick one that you're like, "Ooh, I know if I get that one in order, it's going to pull these other things along with it." So pick 1 to 2, highlight those, circle them, whatever you need to do in your notes, and we're going to really focus on those. So when you think about that 1 to 2 actions that you just selected, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 is I'm not at all confident, 10 is I am 100% confident that I can reach that action regularly. On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you in your ability to do your chosen daily action? So when you think about that, on your scale of 1 to 10, where were you? Was your score less than an 8 or a 9? If it was, what might make you more confident in your ability to carry out your chosen action or actions? In what ways can you make your action more realistic for your life? Now, you might be looking at me and saying, "Adrian, an 8 or a 9, really? That seems a little bit excessive. Shouldn't I be good if I'm like over 6?" Well, maybe, but the goal is that we're giving ourselves a win. We tend to think about making goals in the context of our like quote unquote normal week, which again, never or rarely happens. Or we think about it in an ideal world, and we tend to make goals when we're excited to make a change. So when we're excited, we're like, "Oh yeah, I can do that." But then again, we get a couple weeks in and life starts to happen and it becomes a little bit more challenging. When we make commitments at the level of an 8 or 9 out of 10, ideally a 9 out of 10, it helps us to make goals and action items that we can stick to even when things pop up that are out of our control or when that initial excitement or motivation begins to fade. So an example of what this might look like if I'm adjusting one. So maybe my action item is I'm going to substitute a higher quality carb. Instead of French fries, I'm going to do like a wild rice 7 out of 7 days. But maybe when I really start to think about it and I ask myself on that scale of 1 to 10 where I'm at, maybe I'm at like a 6. Well, what can I do to make that a little more realistic? Well, I guess if I think about it, on days that I need to make dinner quickly, that's a little bit harder. I've got a couple of those a week. So I think I could be really consistent with 5 out of 7. So instead of 7 out of 7, I'm going to do 5 out of 7. Then I'm going to ask myself, how confident am I in this new revised action? So maybe my answer for the above example is, I think I'm at a 8.5, but I'm not full confident 9. And so maybe I'm going to further revise it to, instead of 5 out of 7, maybe we were going to stick with 4 out of 7. And that's okay. That's a good starting place that moves us forward. And you know what? If I end up doing more than 4 out of 7, that's a win and I get to celebrate that. It's part of the process. It makes me feel good that I'm moving forward in the right direction. I'm doing better than expected. Versus if I were to leave it at 7 out of 7 or even 5 out of 7 and I missed the mark because I wasn't fully confident, that makes me feel really discouraged. So that's why we want to continue to revise those action steps until I am 9 out of 10 confident that I can meet that action step. Okay, so we've got our action points that we're really confident that we're going to hit. We're 9 out of 10 confident we're going to hit them. And so now we just need to double check all those details. We're going to clarify them. We're going to confirm what we've got, and we're going to prepare so that way we know that we can work them in, we can make them practical. So thinking about your primary goal, your skills, practices, actions, how they all build on each other, we need to think about what do you need to track for each one of those. Do I need a notebook to track them? Do I need a scale? Do I need an app? What do I need to measure what I need to measure? And what are those metrics that I need to do? Am I set up for that? Um, so what do I need to measure? How often do I need to do it? Is it realistic for me to check my weight every day or healthy for me to check my weight every day? Probably not. Uh, every couple of weeks is probably better for checking in weight versus if I'm measuring how much food I'm eating, that's a daily thing. We eat multiple times a day, right? How will I know if I'm moving forward when I've made it? What is a significant level of improvement? And do I have a threshold of when I've made it? Or at least a general idea of what that looks like? Do I have something in mind? So, like if I'm running a 5K, is my goal to just complete the 5K, or is my goal to run the whole thing, or am I running it with a specific time in mind? What does that mean to make it? And what metrics am I tracking along the way? To know that I'm moving forward. Am I doing time trials every couple of weeks, or what does that look like to make sure that I'm making progress forward? So other things that I need to think about, what do I have that helps me carry out the action or actions that I've decided on? What skills do I have? What resources, supports, stuff like that. Maybe if I have a nutrition goal, I'm a really good cook. That's awesome. That's a great skill that helps me meet those nutrition goals because I'm going to be a little more eager to try a new recipe or to like, oh, I've never cooked that way before. I'm going to try that out, or I'm going to experiment with that meal and make something really tasty and creative. Maybe if I'm have a running goal, I have a really great running trail next door. And so that's a really big asset that I have to support my running goal. On the flip side of that, we also need to think about in the next few weeks, what hurdles are you likely to face? As we all know, life is rarely smooth. So we need to make sure that as we're looking forward, we are planning for those hurdles. Maybe I have a TDY in the next few weeks, and that's going to make meeting my nutrition goal really challenging. So as I'm thinking about those hurdles, what planning, preparation, or adjustments will you need to make to work through those hurdles? If I'm TDY and it's really hard to cook on my own, maybe I can see if, oh, is there a hotel suite that I can stay in that has at least a kitchenette? Or maybe I need to adjust my expectations for how many meals I'm able to eat at a higher quality for just that week. Maybe when I'm home, I can eat quality dinners 5 out of 7 nights pretty easily, but when I'm at a hotel, TDY, I am only going to be able to hit 3 out of 5. Maybe I need to do some research about what restaurants are close by or what grocery stores are close by. What can I do to prepare in my hotel room to make sure that I'm still hitting that nutrition quality goal or exercise whatever goal that is. What do I need to do to adjust around that kind of unusual circumstance? And then who else needs to know about your planned actions? This is less about accountability and more about uh, logistics and who needs to know, who's involved, who's impacted by this goal that you're trying to make. So if I live with my spouse and I do most of the cooking, is my spouse okay with me changing the meals that we're eating? If my spouse does more of the cooking, are they on board with cooking different meals and ready to go? If I've got kiddos, are we involving them in that or not? Who do I need to have that communication with? Or do I need to have, especially like with kiddos, sometimes it's hard to get them to eat. So do I need to have an alternative meal for them? Um, if I'm going to be out of the house more because I'm exercising more and I'm not going to be home as early, I need to make sure that I'm communicating that with whoever that impacts. So making sure that everything's on board and that I'm not putting hurdles on myself because I've communicated clearly. Following up. So once you've implemented your actions a little bit, you've collected some data, you've seen how it's going, you know how consistent or inconsistent you've been, you know, have you seen progress forward? Have we not? Um, Now it's time to follow up. So we get to reevaluate and readjust our action steps and our practices and skills. So, first question that we need to ask ourselves, did you do what you committed to doing? Did you do your workouts per week? Did you track your mood? Did you um, take those walks outside? Did you do the action that you said you were going to do? Then take time, think about what helped or hindered you from your action plan. How can you continue to lean into the things that helped you do your action plan? Maybe you found an unexpected running buddy or workout buddy. How can you lean into them more as you continue to progress in your goal seeking? How can you plan better for hurdles that came up the next time around? Were there so many hurdles or so severe of hurdles that you need to make an adjustment so that your action plan is more achievable for your current reality? Maybe you thought you had time for 3 hour long workouts, and the reality is you just don't. That's okay. So, if you struggled to carry out your plan to meet those action items, what adjustments do you need to make to move you in the right direction? A couple examples of this are maybe, man, I really struggled to eat 20 grams of protein at each meal 6 days a week, but I really think I could do 4 days. That's a really great adjustment. It's just like that 9 out of 10 confidence level when we went through our actions the first time, but now you have a little bit of life experience under you, so we can make a more informed adjustment. Not that we can't hit that 6 out of 6 days later on, but we want to make sure that we're moving in the correct direction. Maybe I only got 3, but I can be really intentional about 4 this next time. Or another example, man, maybe my longer workouts keep getting interrupted. My kids keep coming in the garage gym and I can't get in my full hour-long workout. But I think if I plan for a 20-minute workout, I think I could be more consistent. That's another really great adaptation. Maybe even with that 20-minute workout, you could be consistent 4 days a week instead of the 3 hour long workouts, right? If you aced meeting carrying out your plan, your action steps, what is the next step to help build your skill, practice, or action? So maybe you're in a situation of where you're saying like, hey, like I've done a really great job of training consistently over the last month, and now I need to be more purposeful with my training. I used to have problems being consistent in the gym, but now I'm going consistently. I feel good. I'm confident that I can get there my 3 days a week. But man, like I get there and I just don't feel like I'm moving in the right direction. So I need to be more purposeful, and so maybe an action that I'm going to do is, hey, I'm going to schedule time with my grit team, my Guardian Resilience team, to make sure that my training time is more purposeful. I'm going to get a plan on board so that I know that what I'm doing is moving me in the right direction. Or on a nutrition side, maybe it's like, hey, I am crushing packing a well-balanced meal to bring with me to work and to feel better when and I feel better when I'm eating well. And because I recognize the value of that, I want to increase the quality of the meals that I eat at home. I know that's something I still struggle with. And so, especially on those off days, like I want to take that up a notch. And so that's going to help me form my next action steps. So now we get to put it all together. So we want to make sure that we've identified our primary goal. Have we tied it to a value that we hold deeply? We've identified that why it matters to us. We've made a goal that's informed by data. We know what we need to change, how much. We've collected some data. We're collecting data as we go to make sure that we're making really wise and sensible decisions. Our goal helps us foster curiosity. We're able to look at things like an experiment and see, well, what happens when I do this? Does it move me closer to my goal? Do I stay the same? Do I get worse? And that's going to help us make, again, informed decisions. Our goals need to be smart, so we need to make sure we're working out all the details that go with the specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, timely, and our goals need to be actionable. Our next step is that we break down our goals into skills, practices, and actions that we can plan, measure, and integrate. We want to make sure that we're able to break it down into really practical things that we can do so that we make sure we're actually getting forward transition and not just like, oh, I have a goal of this and yeah, I've started to run more. No, we have a specific plan that we're able to build into our weekly routines. And then we're going to commit to our actions and we're going to plan to make them happen. We're going to clarify them. We're going to confirm. We're going to plan for, we're going to celebrate the things that help us do what we need to do, but we're also going to plan for those hurdles that we're going to face and make sure that we're setting ourselves up for success by leaning on those things that are positive for us, but then also planning for those things that we know are likely to get in the way. Because again, life is never smooth. And then we're going to implement that whole plan. And once we've done that for our set period of time, we're going to reevaluate and readjust so that we can make sure that we are moving forward continually. After we've done one action step and really mastered that and enjoyed the process of that, we get to step into another part of the process and really start to master that as well. So, what are the best ways to engage as you guys are setting your goals? We want to respond to the prompts that our team has sent you in the emails so that we know how to best support you through your goal setting and your goal seeking process. We've got prompts that are tied to the content each week. And so we're really thinking through the questions that we're asking you to help you guys engage with us better, to help you think through things that you may not think through on your own. Let us know what questions and hurdles you have. We're always down for a brainstorm session. So come to us, let us know what you're walking through, what you're struggling through, and we're happy to help you move towards solutions for those. And then what wins have you had? We would love to celebrate those with you. We get really excited when you guys have wins and progress forward. And so it's always helpful to celebrate those together in community. So this is a Chinese proverb that our team really likes and that I think resonates really well with goal setting. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. A lot of times with goal setting, we're just like, oh man, like when this happens, I'll do this. When I get out of the service, I will do this. Or man, like when I'm out of this position, I'll have more time for that. The right time rarely happens. Not that it won't ever happen, sometimes they do, but more often than not, there's not a right time. So use this goal setting framework, take time, plan the step that's actionable now, and let us know how we can help. Thanks for joining in. Thanks.